Well, when it rains, it pours, and it is pouring good news for your Denver Broncos in the AFC West as things are truly spiraling out of control with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Chargers in particular. We also get some great news about our second-round draft pick, Harvey. We're breaking all that down and more in this video. If you're new to the channel, I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan named Ben, and it helps me in the YouTube algorithm out a ton if you like the Broncos, if you would like and subscribe. So the big news of the day for your Denver Broncos is we are in day 2 of rookie mini camps, and yesterday, very few second-round draft picks had been actually signed to their team because of a few teams overreaching and giving guaranteed money to their second-round draft picks, which typically was not how things worked in the NFL. And once that happened for 2 second-round draft picks, all the second-round draft picks wanted it, and so they all kind of held out in tandem there. And so Harvey was not in the building practicing yesterday with his team, but the great news is that it was just one day without his services, and he is back in action as the Denver Broncos came to an agreement and actually signed him an amazing pickup. I think this is going to age perfectly, just like when Sean Payton stole Alvin Kamara in the 3rd round. No one knew who he was. That is what happened with Harvey, and I think we are going to put this running game on the map this year with Harvey. And so he's getting a $1.9 million signing bonus from the richest owner in sports, and it's fantastic that he only missed 1 practice. Again, Sean Payton is very tight-lipped. We don't hear anything out of there that he doesn't want us to hear, and so we don't know exactly, was that deal struck right before practice today, but at the very most, he maybe missed 2 practices, and that is just a phenomenal thing and cannot be said about our counterparts in Los Angeles. So the big news happening out of the Los Angeles Rams, it's just on multiple fronts. They are in big trouble. They started doing their whole Chargers got a Charger thing just about 3 months earlier than we're typically used to that happening. So the big news first off is that their second bell of free agency was Mike Williams. All the Chargers fans, all 2 of them, were trying to talk themselves into Mike Williams being a great target for Justin Herbert and saying, yeah, we didn't really want Evan Engram. They did, and they had him in the building, and he chose your Denver Broncos over the Chargers. But their big, second place score was getting Mike Williams and saying, hey, Mike Williams had 2,000-yard seasons. He's only 30 years old. He still is a fantastic talent. Well, they put him on the physically unable to perform list. And a lot of Chargers fans were saying, oh, that's Harbaugh just playing 4D chess, and that's a way of him manipulating this roster. The PUP list, they can take him off anytime. Well, then today he comes out and straight up retires. So the Los Angeles Chargers now truly just have Ladd McConkey and this stifling run game, which also took a step back today that we're going to get to in just a second. But I think this is phenomenal, just as you talk about, how is this Denver Broncos team set up to stop the Chargers offense? I think we are in a fantastic position because you know that Jahdae Barron was kind of signed to stop Ladd McConkey, and now no one can even name another Chargers receiver outside of Ladd McConkey now that their wide receiver 2, who they were counting on going into the season, just left and is off the team. Just what a huge shocker. Then on top of that, they placed another person on the physically unable to perform list after a fireworks incident that we were assured right after it happened, this won't cost him any football time. Naji Harris is starting the season on the physically unable to perform list. And it is just a incredibly weird situation that even it's so weird that the New York Post is writing articles about it, that you see a Pro Football Talk network, which doesn't typically deal in scandals. This isn't one of those clickbaity things, is coming out and just saying this is one of the strangest things ever. So we know John Harbaugh wants to run the ball, and he's counting on that 2-headed monster of Omarion Hampton and Najee Harris. We know he wasn't even totally sold on Najee Harris because of his injury history, which is why they put that really weird tender on JK Dobbins. They still wanted JK Dobbins as a fallback plan. Well, the Broncos took away their fallback plan, and now they're without Najee Harris right now. And what you're seeing here is just a very strange thing where they're reporting that Najee Harris is meeting with Stanford doctors about his fireworks incident. Allegedly was hit in the eye with a firework, and there were people who were there with him who lost fingers and toes, and I don't wish any of that on anyone. But this is just a very bizarre thing, and now you're really John Harbaugh, and you're I got to throw a rookie running back into this with only one other offensive weapon being Ladd McConkey. This is just a good situation as the Broncos are trying to prepare for the Chargers, and they have a tough start to their schedule as well. And so, a couple of the comments on this tweet were hilarious, just saying stuff like, oh, yes, I often meet with Stanford doctors about a 2-week-old eye injury. This is just a bizarre situation, and really does bode very, very well for your Denver Broncos. You just take a look at how all those things add up together. They didn't get their deal done with their second-round rookie. They also are a week ahead of the Denver Broncos with their training camp situation because they play on July 31st, their first preseason game. So everything is ramped up a week. So this isn't just rookie training camp. This is their real training camp. And so you are without a wide receiver too, and then you're without Najee Harris participating in any of this. And they also had a holdout because of their second-round deal. And so, yeah, everything is definitely not going great for a team that we're going to be competing with a playoff spot and competing for the Division 4. But it isn't just in Denver and just Los Angeles that things are falling off the tracks. Take a look over at our counterparts, the Kansas City Chiefs. And what I was saying was going to happen, and Michael Darcy came out and assured me Rashee Rice was not going to be facing a suspension whatsoever this year. They were feeling all their oats. Patrick Mahomes hopped on with Kay Adams and said this was the best receiving class that he is, or the best receiving core he's ever played with. Well, now it has come out that Rashee Rice has pleaded guilty to the charges of reckless driving and fleeing the scene. There's dash cam footage of him getting a very high-speed chase and then running off. And Adam Schefter comes out and says today that there will be a suspension this year at the start of the season for Rashee Rice. We're just really trying to determine how long that suspension is going to be. But it's just not a great thing for them, especially when you take a look at the start of their season. It is a absolute gauntlet, right? That they're starting the season with the Chargers and then with the Philadelphia Eagles and Baltimore Ravens and Jacksonville Jaguars, Detroit Lions. That's their first 6. And if you take a look back at NFL history and just kind of the different suspensions for things that were related to this, I am guessing that he is going to have at least a 4-game suspension. I would say it's in that 4 to 8 range. I ran a couple deep research things and looked into it, and it's hard to find just like an isolated incident exactly like this. But you see Dante Stallworth was in a DUI where someone was killed, and he faced an entire year-long suspension. While no one was killed in this car accident, absolutely someone could have been. That was sheer luck that it didn't. So the actions were very, very similar. The outcome was different, but if you punish someone on like the actual action, right? And so you take a look at just a couple other incidents across the NFL when it comes to suspensions, and you just find, I found a couple 8-game suspensions for very similar things. Tank Dell had an 8-game suspension. Now he had some weapons charges thrown in there as well. But either way, you just have this shaping up absolutely beautifully for your Denver Broncos that we're able to secure our second-round draft pick, and he misses 1 rookie practice. Bo Nix isn't at that practice. And then you look at the Chargers' number 1 and number 2 options there with their running back and their second wide receiver, both not practicing with the team, not developing that chemistry. And then you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, who've won the division for the better part of a decade, and they are without their wide receiver 1 for at least 4 to 8 games. I also think for Roger Goodell, the public perception and the biggest joke in the NFL is how the Kansas City Chiefs get preferential treatment. And so if he does anything other than come down on the letter of the law on this, I think he will be just hung out to dry. And I think NFL owners will jump on that. We've already seen several referees who reffed Kansas City Chiefs games pretty unfairly were demoted down to a lower league. And so I expect Roger Goodell to need to come down hard on this and give the biggest suspension that he's given for a similar type action. So, you look at that Chiefs offense, they didn't solve their running back problem. Their offensive line is nothing to write home about. And if Patrick Mahomes doesn't have Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown, who's injured often, don't scare me as an offense, especially with the defense that the Broncos have. So all shaping up to be absolutely perfect. In Broncos country, we just continue to have so much to believe in. Oh, facts.